Hey guys, and welcome to another video. So this video is the third of a trilogy of videos, I guess you could call it, that I'm making just basically on what I think is going to happen next year. And I'm focusing really on the three key mid-tier watch brands, I think you could call them, Rolex, Omega and Tudor. And you will have hopefully seen by now the other two videos that I've already made in the last week. I started off with talking about the Omega predictions for next year, where I've kind of predicted that I think they'll come out with a flagship new model, and I'm picking it will be the Seamaster. In the second video I did about Rolex, I've basically made a prediction that they're going to do some funky things with the Submariner, and partly to retaliate, if you like, against Omega, because as I've said in a previous video, Omega and Rolex in the sports watch category are in quite fierce competition with each other in terms of getting the marketing right and being perceived to be the premium brand in the sports watch market. So I expect Rolex to do something next year with the Submariner. And I wanted to finish the trilogy with Tudor, and I think it's appropriate that I do finish with Tudor in some respects, because it's kind of almost the brand that I think from my perspective requires a little bit more of a backstory as to what my thoughts are on Tudor, and which has a reflection on what I think is going to happen with Tudor next year. So I'll start just actually with a quick wristwatch check. So today I'm wearing my Omega Seamaster 2254.50. This is the commonly referred to as the Peter Blake. It's the big pizza loom dial, so that huge chunk of dial there at 12 o'clock. Huge chunk of loom there at 12 o'clock on the dial. It's a lovely watch, really enjoying this. So I bought this just a few weeks ago, and I've been wearing it pretty consistently over the last few weeks and really enjoying it. So got the wristwatch check out of the way, and I'll just get into really a little bit of a backstory here, because I made a video just recently where I talked about the fact that, or I made a couple of references to the fact that Tudor is the kind of watch that you might go after if you can't get a Rolex or you can't afford a Rolex. And I kind of knew at the time that I was probably being a little bit rough when I said that. These videos are one-take videos, guys. I don't come back and edit out things that I wish I hadn't said, or maybe didn't say right. I'm not at that stage yet where I'm editing things that might be contentious out of my video. So what you're hearing from me is completely unedited, and you're just hearing it as it comes out, basically. So I made a rough comment, I think, in a video where I said that Tudor was I didn't say it was a poor man's Rolex, and I think that has been used as a euphemism at times. What I actually said was that you get a Tudor if you can't afford or can't get a Rolex. And there was a little bit of a backstory, I guess, to that. Why I said that, and because it is loosely based on fact. It is loosely based on history. And if you go on the Tudor website, tudor.com, I think it's tudorwatch.com. You'll actually see that there's Tudor have got a nice succinct history of their brand on their website, and they go back to 1926, and Hans Wilsdorf, of course, who was the founder of Rolex, he is also the founder of Tudor. And I'll just read you this quote, because Hans Wilsdorf, back in 1926, as the founder of Rolex, said, "For some years now, I have been considering the idea of making a watch that our agents could sell at a more modest price than our Rolex watches." So this is a direct quote out of the Tudor website. So what Hans Wilsdorf was saying here was, I've got a really cool watch here in my Rolex Oyster Perpetual. It's very desirable, it's very expensive, not everybody can afford it, and my selling agents are telling me that they'd like to be able to sell something that's more affordable. So he created Tudor, and I actually had a conversation with a sales associate, one of the Rolex sales associates, actually going back a couple of years ago now, and he actually said to me that, because I said, where did Hans Wilsdorf get the name Tudor? Where does that come from? Because it's kind of it's an old British kind of period, way back in history. Sort of they were part of the monarchy, a couple of 300 years ago. And there's the Tudor period, and that's kind of, I think, what I associate it with. And he said absolutely, Hans Wilsdorf was obsessed with English aristocracy and English history and the history of the monarchy. He liked the Tudors, he liked the Tudor Rose, so that's where the original Tudor logo came from. Before it went to the logo that it has now, it actually started off as a rose, which was the Tudor rose, which actually Tudor had, if you remember, on the crowns of their black bays as well. That's the Tudor rose, and that's the original Tudor rose, which is a, you know, if you just Google, you know, the Tudor family in the Tudor era in Britain, it's quite interesting, and that's where Hans Wilsdorf gained, you know, the idea of calling the brand Tudor. So Tudor is very much a Rolex founded brand, and we should never forget that. So the reason I made that comment that you know, you only go for a Tudor if you can't afford or can't get a Rolex, you know, well, it was based on, you know, a little bit of kind of historic fact, and actually a little bit of reality as well, because Tudor, you know, obviously, despite the fact that they've become, you know, pretty much their own brand and their own household name now, if you like, you know, they are very much inextricably linked still to Rolex. So make no mistake. I'd almost go as far back as when you look at, for example, even in the, you know, the 60s and 70s, which is long after Tudor, you know, became a brand, they were still using Rolex's casebacks and Rolex's crowns. I think for a lot of their models, it actually had the Rolex crown the Rolex logo on the crown of a lot of Tudor models, and I think on the casebacks it said something that was engraved, something like caseback made by Rolex. You know, so they were making no secret of the fact that they were, you know, part of the same company, and it was seen that, you know, you ought to want to buy this Tudor because here's the Rolex logo. It's actually, a lot of the components are made by Rolex. So Tudor made money, made a brand, you know, out of that link with Rolex, and I don't think it's unfair to, you know, keep reminding ourselves that, you know, that's where they're from, and that's who they're still owned by. So I've kind of, you know, to use the analogy in some respects, you know, Tudor are the pallbearer. If you're into wrestling, and you're as old as I am, and you can remember the days of the Undertaker, and you had pallbearer as his sidekick. You know, Tudor are the pallbearer, where Rolex are the Undertaker. You know, that's that kind of analogy. Anyway, moving on from that. So fast forward. So before I carry on, my apologies to anybody that was upset by my statement that I made in a previous video. I didn't mean it quite as brutally. Had I been editing my videos, I probably would have edited that out. So my apologies. But it is a comment that's made based on fact. Anyway, I think I've laboured that point enough now, and I want to move on to you know, the Tudor of today. I will move on to my predictions, by the way, but again, as in my previous two videos, my predictions, and they are just, this is just guesswork, guys, and it's just a hobbyist having fun. My predictions are based on a little bit of what's happened over the last couple of years as well. So, you know, you fast forward, I guess, to 2023, to this year, as we're drawing to the end. You know, Tudor's made a big deal about the, you know, the fact that it's moved into this new factory. It's even advertising kind of the fact that it's making its own movements, or it's got a subsidiary movement maker, Kinesi, and they're quite happy to put photographs of all of this on their website, showing you the Tudor factory in Geneva, and the Kinesi movement factory that's right next door, and there's a link between the two. I think it's an underground link conveyor between the Kinesi factory and the Tudor factory. So they're making no secret of that, and they're very proud of it, of course, and so they should be. It's all you know, roboticized as well by the looks of it. There's a couple of really good videos on YouTube as well, where they've let people in, and you know, you've been able to have a look around. So good on them. They've invested a lot of money. You know, the key thing for me, guys, is that I hope that it improves the, you know, the availability of their product, because they do make a good product for the money. There's no question of that. They've got their own movements now. They're claiming to be in-house. I don't know, you know, in-house. You know, to me, honestly, I'm not really bothered about the whole in-house thing. It's not a really big thing for me. I mean, take for example this watch here. This Omega runs on the old 1120 Omega movement, which is a heavily modified ETA. This is pre-coaxial as well, by the way. This is before Omega even went to the coaxial movement. So this has got basically an ETA movement in it. It's a fantastic movement, guys. It's incredibly accurate. It's still running to within a second a day. This watch has been knocked around a lot over the years, and you know, what I'm basically saying is I think the whole in-house kind of craze and obsessions, it's kind of I don't know, I just think it's a little bit of a red herring, if I'm honest with you. The key thing for me is, what power reserve has it got? How much is it going to cost me to service it? Because some of these in-house movements are pretty complex, and pretty much you can't get them serviced apart from anybody else but the manufacturer. And you look at the service cost now of let's say an Amiga 8900 movement compared to this. I can send this to any decent watchmaker and get it serviced as well as any Amiga service agent, and it will cost me probably less than a third of the price than it would cost me to send my new coaxial 8900 movement off for a service. So service cost is important as well. So in-house to me just means more expensive to service, and so I think there's just a lot of marketing sort of puffery around in-house, which I just find a little bit of a distraction, to be honest with you. Anyway, so they've got in-house. The other thing I wanted to mention with regards to Tudor, and it does go back again, to the inextricable link with Rolex, the pallbearer to the to the Undertaker relationship there. And I promise that's the last time I'll use that analogy, just because I know it's going to upset some people. But when you look at the range of watches that Tudor release and have released over the years, they're kind of they're either what you might consider to be a loose homage of the Rolex equivalent, or they're deliberately designed not to overlap with a Rolex watch. And I'll give you some examples of that. So I've just written a list here of the examples. So you've got the take the Daytona, which is probably the most iconic sports watch that Rolex make. Tudor have got obviously a chronograph. Now, if you look at that chronograph, they've got a panda dial chronograph, right? Okay, and you can say, well, yes, so have some other watch companies. They've gone panda dials, but okay, so we've got a black panda and a reverse panda chronograph. The Black Bay is if you look at the Black Bay, let's take the Black Bay 58, which I think is the best example. The Black Bay 58, which is a lovely watch, and I'm not talking about the blue one. I mean the original Black Bay 58 that came out, I think, in 2018, somewhere around there. I think it must have been about 2018. It looks very, very similar, to a kind of a vintage Submariner, one of the original Submariners. And I think I think without question the whole Black Bay range is designed to kind of not overlap with the Submariner, but take a lot of cues from the Submariner, which it does very, very nicely, I will say. If you look at the other watches in the Black Bay range that Tudor makes, so you've got the Black Bay, and this is just the smooth bezel 31, 36, 39, 41. So essentially, especially with the new upgrade that they've just done with those watches, Tudor, they're just absolutely complementary to the Rolex Oyster Perpetual range. You've also got the GMT. So if you look at the GMT Master 2 that Rolex make, you've got a Pepsi equivalent basically that Tudor make, and of course, look, I know that Tudor have just released a really nice silver dial GMT, which is a lovely looking watch. I think it's a bit odd. It looks really nice. It looks pretty. I'm not sure that it's much of an everyday sort of wear watch, because I think that white dial is a little bit kind of in your face. If you like, you can spot it a mile off, aren't you? That white dial. I'm not sure if you want that if you were actually trying to use a GMT as a travel watch. You kind of want it to be quite subtle, which the white dial GMT certainly isn't. You've got the Black Bay Pro, so the Black Bay Pro, which was released a couple of years ago. I mean, that's absolutely just following the same design aesthetic as the Explorer 2, of course, and then the Rolex Explorer's equivalent is the Ranger, which came out quite recently. Now I know that they're not they're not so similar that you'd say they're identical, but you can see the similarities that I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is, despite the fact that Tudor have gone kind of down their own track and they've gone in-house and they're marketing themselves and advertising themselves as a standalone watch business, which they are, they're still absolutely following, picking up the breadcrumbs and following the instructions, if you like, and you can't do this and you can do that from Rolex. There's no question of that, and they're piggybacking off of the Rolex aesthetic as well still. So I just wanted to say three really good things about Tudor as well before I move on to my predictions. So the great thing about Tudor is they're really, really good value watches. There's no question of that. They do make a very, very good watch. I've owned in the past, I've owned the Black Bay 41, the red one. I really enjoyed wearing that watch. I had it for a couple of years. Really, I wore it a lot. I really enjoyed it. That was the one that everybody sort of whinged about because it had the big thick slab sides. I didn't think it was too much of a problem. I enjoyed the fact that it was a time-only watch. I ended up selling that when I got my Submariner. And I recently bought a Pelagos, the blue Pelagos, lovely watch. This is the titanium watch. I thoroughly enjoyed owning that watch, and I sold that watch when I got a Rolex Sea Dweller. So just saying, you know, that this is where I get my, I guess, my steer from, you know, about the Tudor Rolex relationship, is you tend to hang on to your Tudors. You know, and then you get a Rolex and you think, well, geez. And this is what I thought is, I don't know if I really need this Tudor anymore. It's kind of, now I've got this Sea Dweller, I'm not wearing my Pelagos, and now I've got this Submariner, I'm not wearing my Black Bay, and that's kind of how it went for me. And that's not me being, you know, snobby or anything. This is just me saying that, you know, the Rolex equivalents are better. There's no question of that. But of course, you pay 3-4 times more. So, you know, the great thing about Tudor is that they're really good value guys, and there's absolutely no question of that. They do make a very good, solid, reliable, robust watch. And, you know, the most important thing is they're a lot easier to get than a Rolex. Although I would say, and I have said in a previous video, and I won't labour the point again, I really do wish that Tudor would make some of their more popular models, desirable models, available, because although Tudor's a really good watch, it's not that good, and I'm not going to wait 6 months, 12 months, you know, for a Black Bay 58 or for a Pelagos FXD Marine Nationale. Still the watch that I'd like to get, but I'm not going to wait for it. If it comes my way, it comes my way. But I really do wish Tudor would, you know, just put out some more of the watches that people actually want to buy. Because surely they keep an expression of interest list from their ADs as well, like Rolex do, and they know what people are after. Anyway, guys, I'm going to move on to my predictions. And the reason I've kind of gone on a little bit about the history of Tudor and their links to Rolex is because I do very strongly feel that whatever Tudor do in 2024, it will be very careful not to overlap with anything that Rolex are doing, and they want to stay right out of Rolex's way and make sure that whatever they do kind of complements it. So here's the thing, right? In my Rolex predictions, I said that I think that Rolex are going to do quite a bit with the Submariner in 2024, and what I actually said was I think that they'll leave the GMT Master 2 range alone. Last year they released, or this year still, 2023, they released a couple more GMT Master 2s, you know, the two-tone and a solid gold GMT Master 2. Lovely watches, really nice. So, and of course, although Tudor released the you know, the pale dial GMT, you know, they kind of focused more on a different range of watches. I think this year what Tudor are going to do is they're going to focus on their GMT. I think people have, you know, the GMT when it was first released, that Pepsi GMT was really hot, wasn't it? It was just insanely popular. You know, because it was potentially more available, because it had more than a passing resemblance to a GMT Master 2, and still does. It's a great watch. It's affordable, it's reasonably gettable. Now what's actually happened, obviously, if you remember with the GMT, Tudor had a problem with the movement, with the date wheel jumping, and there was a bit of a hullabaloo over that for 2 or 3 years actually, where I think it took Tudor quite a long time to fix that date wheel issue. My understanding is that they're not having that problem anymore, and I think this year, in 2024, this coming year, I think Tudor will release either a completely new range of GMTs, or they'll upgrade the existing GMTs. And that is to say, I think they'll do something to modernize it a little bit more, and I'm picking that they're going to go for a slimmer design, a more sleek, svelte design than the boxy sort of design they've got now. Much in the same vein, if you like, where just recently Tudor released or modified the Black Bay 41, and they made it thinner, only slightly thinner. It's still not as thin as it was when it had the old ETA movement in, but they've kind of slimmed down the Black Bay 41. They did that last year. and I think they're going to do the same this year, this coming year with the GMT. They're going to make a slimmer GMT. I actually also would really like them to see, to put in a ceramic bezel. I think that would be fantastic. Now they put the ceramic bezel. They've obviously got that in the Pelagos, and that's a matte ceramic bezel, of course, not a glossy one like you see on the GMT Master 2. So what I'd like to see Tudor do is put a matte ceramic bezel in the new GMT. I'd obviously like to see them bring out something a little bit different in terms of colour. So yes, absolutely, go with a upgrade in the Pepsi, with a ceramic bezel. But I'm just going to put it out there, guys, and this is, again, this is just a hobbyist having some fun, and using a little bit of, I guess, half knowledge, if you like, about what's happened in the past and what could happen in the future. But wouldn't it be cool if Tudor released a Coke bezeled GMT? In other words, black dial, and the nighttime side of the bezel is black, and the daytime side is red. So a Coke type. A Coke version of the Tudor GMT. So I'm just going to put that out there, guys, and I'm going to finish this video with that thought in your mind. Look, as I said, just to finish, I think Tudor will be very careful not to do anything that kind of gets in the way of what Rolex are doing. I think they'll absolutely do what they're told, and for me, that's a sports model range that doesn't cross over with what Rolex are doing. I think Tudor will need to focus on making their watches more available. I'd like to see them be a little less arrogant. I think they're at the stage now with Tudor that they need to start offering some discounts at the ADs. So I'd love to see that too. And I'd love to see the Marine Nationale FXD Pelagos available for sale. And that's the end of my predictions for 2024, guys, and that's actually the end of the trilogy as well. So if you haven't watched the other two videos already, please do let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel as well. Gives me a lot of I guess enjoyment to make these videos, but I'll only carry on making them if there's interest in the content, and that is really just down to how many subscribers I'm getting. So thank you very much to those of you who have subscribed and commented and liked the videos, and if you haven't already, please do. And I look forward to seeing you. I've got more videos lined up. I've got some great topics. I'm gonna move away from the the Rolex, Omega, Tudor discussions for a little while and focus on some other brands. Because believe it or not, I am interested in other brands too, and you'll be seeing those videos over the next few weeks. And thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.